Part 1. Karen Pritchard was the unchallenged despot of Willow Creek, a charming Tennessee town tucked into the green hills outside Knoxville, where the air hummed with cicadas and the sweet tang of barbecue. At 55, she'd muscled her way onto the town council 5 years ago, turning a laid-back community of 3,000 souls into her personal playground of petty vendettas. Her house, a split-level monstrosity with bubblegum pink shutters and a lawn so perfect it looked like a golf course, squatted on Oak Street like a garish watchdog. Every porch light, every mailbox tilt, every stray leaf quivered under her reign, and she'd once slapped a $70 fine on a kid for flying a kite that cluttered the skyline. Karen didn't just live in Willow Creek, she owned it, or so she thought, with a smirk that could sour milk. Her days were a circus of control, executed with the flair of a reality TV villain. Mornings started with a power strut through town, less fitness, more espionage. Her bleach blonde bob bouncing like a spiteful helmet under a visor screaming, "Queen Bee" in glittery cursive. She'd storm the Dunkin' on Main for a large iced coffee, barking at the cashier if the ice cubes clinked too loud, then retreat to her command center, a home office stuffed with council minutes, a corkboard of blurry complaint pics, and a desk drowning in sticky notes like, "Ban the taco truck now." Afternoons meant harassing the Piggly Wiggly over wilted lettuce, and evenings were for slugging boxed Chardonnay on her porch, scrolling Facebook for fresh targets, usually litterers or loafers. She was the town's nosiest nightmare, and she lived for it. Karen's appearance was a walking felony against fashion. Her hair, dyed a brassy blonde that glowed like a traffic cone, was teased into a bob so rigid it could have doubled as a weapon, thanks to weekly blowouts at sheer madness. She rocked blazers in shades that assaulted the eyes, peach, lime, hot pink, over white capris that hugged her bony legs like cling wrap, accessorized with gold hoop earrings big enough to double as hula hoops, and a boss lady tote she'd nabbed off QVC after her ex, Dale, ditched her for a barmaid named Bambi. Her hazel eyes caked with smudgy mascara, narrowed into slits at the first hint of rebellion, and her voice, a nasal, ear-splitting yowl, could wake a coma ward. She wasn't just loud, she was a human air raid siren with a chip on her shoulder. Willow Creek was a slice of southern paradise, clapboard homes with rocking chairs, magnolias dropping white petals, a town square with a gazebo where folks swapped stories over iced tea. But beneath the charm, it was a hotbed of quiet grudges. The Millers despised the Pattersons' crowing rooster. Old Man Jenkins muttered about the Garcia's taco truck hogging parking. And everyone lived in Karen's shadow. She'd once banned Halloween pumpkins, claiming they attracted vermin, and most folks complied because arguing with her was like debating a buzzsaw, exhausting, hilarious, and you'd lose a finger. Not everyone rolled over, though. 2 doors down lived Tasha Jackson, a 32-year-old hairdresser with a laugh that could melt ice and a sass that could cut glass. Tasha had blown into Willow Creek 3 years back with her grandma, Miss Ruby, a 78-year-old firecracker who'd raised her after her parents died in a car wreck. Their house was a cozy shotgun with peeling blue paint, a porch overrun with ferns, and a backyard where Miss Ruby grew collards and peppers that'd make your eyes water. Tasha ran Ruby's cuts out of her garage, braiding, dyeing, and dishing gossip with half the town, her red braids swinging as she worked. She wasn't loud. She was just Tasha in ripped jeans and a Tupac tee, cracking wise and keeping it 100. The spark ignited on a sticky June evening, the kind where the humidity glued your shirt to your skin. Karen was on her porch, Chardonnay sloshing, when she spotted Tasha and Miss Ruby in their yard, yakking with Darnell Brooks, a lanky 20-something with a fresh fade and a grin that could charm a snake. Darnell was a newbie, 6 months in renting a duplex on Pine, worked at the auto shop, and had a knack for lending a hand. That night, he was lugging a fertilizer bag for Miss Ruby's peppers, sweat dripping as he hauled it from his rusty Civic. To anyone with a heart, it was a neighbor doing a solid. To Karen, it was a 5-alarm breach of her pristine empire. She lurched up, wine splashing, and gawked through her hoops. "Who's that?" she screeched, her voice slicing through the dusk like a banshee. She didn't know Darnell, not by name. To her, he was just some hoodlum in a tank top, not a vetted citizen on her mental ledger. She whipped out her phone, snapped a blurry pic of him mid-lift, and stormed inside, slamming the screen door so hard it wobbled. 10 minutes later, the Willow Creek Facebook page lit up. Stranger alert! Unknown male lurking at the Jacksons. What is he up to? Safety first! A few likes pinged. Mrs. Miller too nosy to pass, but most scrolled by, unimpressed. Tasha caught it an hour later, sprawled on her couch with Miss Ruby cackling over Jeopardy. Girl, peep this, Miss Ruby hooted, shoving her phone at Tasha. She read it, snorted, and nearly sprayed her sweet tea. Stranger, that's Darnell. Karen's off her rocker. She texted him a screenshot. You're famous, fam. Watch out for the Chardonnay gremlin. Darnell fired back a crying, laughing emoji and, she gonna flip when I weed their garden tomorrow. Tasha grinned, figuring it'd fizzle. Karen was a loudmouth, but this was next-level loony even for her. Karen didn't fizzle. She doubled down. That night, she typed a council complaint, suspicious activity at 112 Oak, and emailed it to her cronies. Mrs. Miller, Ed the hardware guy, a few others. She posted again on Facebook. Day one of the intruder, Jackson's letting riffraff run wild. Where's the oversight? Then she leaned back, smirking, picturing Tasha trembling in fear. She didn't know Tasha or Darnell. She didn't know Willow Creek had a breaking point, or that her wine-soaked rant was about to spark a comedy of errors that'd torch her throne to cinders. Part 2. Karen Pritchard didn't take Tasha's snort as a brush-off. She took it as a full-on declaration of war, a slap to her Chardonnay-soaked crown. That Tuesday morning after her Facebook post, she was up before dawn, pacing her porch with a hangover and a vendetta that could have fueled a reality TV season. The blurry pic of Darnell lugging fertilizer was tacked to her corkboard, a mocking reminder of her intruder still at large. Riff-raff, she snarled to her cat Muffin, who'd retreated to the couch in protest. They think they can laugh at me? Oh, I'll wipe that smirk off their faces. She chugged an iced coffee, strapped on her lime green blazer like a battle vest, and unleashed her counterstrike. She started with a paper assault. She typed a council violation notice, $50 for unauthorized loitering on private property, and printed it with a flourish, the printer groaning under her wrath. She marched it over to Tasha's house at 6 a.m., her heels clacking like a firing squad, and taped it to the door so hard it left a smudge. Then she fired off an email to her council cronies. Mrs. Miller, Ed, a few other yes-men, attaching the photo in a tirade. Tasha Jackson's letting this hoodlum roam free. Our town's safety is at stake. Fines issued, but we need a crackdown. Mrs. Miller replied fast. He looks like trouble. Great work, Karen. Ed hedged. Maybe ask who he is. But Karen ignored him, already plotting her next jab. Tasha found the notice when she stumbled out for coffee, Miss Ruby still snoring with her curlers in. She peeled it off, read it, and cackled so loud she woke the rooster next door. $50 for Darnell helping Gran? She wheezed, texting him a pic. You're a high roller now, D. Karen shook. Darnell called back, his voice dripping with glee. She's gonna lose it when I weed y'all's peppers today. Tell her I take tips in collards. Tasha doubled over, picturing Karen's meltdown, and tossed the notice on her counter next to Miss Ruby's pepper relish jars. She's a clown, she said to the empty kitchen. But this is getting juicy. Karen didn't stop at notices. By noon, she was back on the Willow Creek Facebook page, posting a screed. Day 2 of the intruder crisis. Tasha Jackson's guest, still lurking, hauling who knows what into our town. Where's the accountability? Rules exist. She pinned the blurry pic again, expecting a tidal wave of support. A few likes rolled in, Mrs. Miller, Ed. But the comments were a riot. The Garcias fired back. That's Darnell Brooks, you nut. He works at the shop. Old man Jenkins grumbled. He fixed my carburetor last month. Leave him be. Even the Pattersons, usually Karen's lapdogs, posted, Relax, Karen. It's just fertilizer. Karen's green nails twitched over her phone, deleting the dissenters with a vengeance. Morons, she hissed, slugging more Chardonnay. They'll thank me when this place isn't a dumping ground. Tasha saw the post. Miss Ruby showed her on her ancient iPad, cackling, and nearly choked on her biscuit. She's calling you a crisis, D. she hollered across the street that afternoon, where Darnell was weeding the pepper patch, his tank top soaked with sweat. He grinned, wiping dirt off his hands. Guess I'm the big bad wolf now. Should I howl at her? Tasha howled for him, collapsing in giggles, and yelled, Nah, just keep weeding. She'll pop a vein. Watch. And they laughed, but Tasha felt a prickle. This wasn't dying down, it was snowballing. And Karen was a bulldozer with a grudge. Wednesday, Karen went full PI. She parked herself on her porch with binoculars, big, clunky ones she'd bought to spy on suspicious UPS drivers, and watched Darnell like a hawk. He was back at Tasha's, this time hauling a bag of mulch for Miss Ruby's collards, his fade gleaming in the sun. Karen zoomed in, muttering, Filthy little sneak, and snapped a dozen pics, each shakier than the last. She posted them on Facebook with a caption, Caught red-handed, intruder still invading the Jacksons' yard. Police next. The comments roasted her. Garcia, that's Darnell, you loon. Jenkins, he mowed my lawn last week, nicest intruder ever. Karen blocked them all, her face a beet-red mask of fury, and dialed 911. Willow Creek, Oak Street, she barked to the dispatcher. Suspicious male loitering at the Jacksons. Hauling bags, acting shady. Send a car now. The dispatcher sighed. Karen was a regular, and sent Deputy Pete Carson, a lanky cop who dealt with her antics before. He rolled up 10 minutes later, lights off, while Darnell was mid-haul. You Brooks? Pete asked, leaning on his cruiser. Darnell set the bag down, smirking. Yep. Karen Pritchard call you? Pete nodded, stifling a chuckle. Says you're lurking. You live here. Darnell jerked a thumb at his duplex. 6 months, helping Miss Ruby with her garden. Pete glanced at Karen, peeking from her blinds, and snorted. You're good, man. Tell her to chill. He drove off, but Karen snapped a pic of the cruiser leaving, posting, Police failed. Council must act. Tasha heard the siren, barely a blip, and poked her head out to see Darnell waving Pete off. She called the cops? She yelled, incredulous. Darnell sauntered over, mulch dusting his sneakers. Yep, said I'm a loiterer. Pete told me to keep up the good work. Tasha howled, clutching her sides. This is comedy gold. Karen's unhinged. Miss Ruby shuffled out, curlers bouncing, and hooted. That witch needs a hobby. They high-fived, plotting to lean into it. Darnell'd mow shirtless tomorrow. Tasha'd blast Sweet Home Alabama from her porch. Karen wouldn't know what hit her. Thursday, Karen escalated to lunacy. She printed flyers, neon yellow, screaming, Beware the intruder, with a grainy pic of Darnell, and stuffed them in every mailbox on Oak Street. She taped one to Tasha's door, another to Darnell's Civic, and even slipped them under the Garcia's porch swing. Then she called an emergency council meeting for Saturday, emailing her posse. Tasha Jackson's intruder is a menace. Fines aren't enough. We need a ban. Mrs. Miller clapped back. I'm in. Safety first. Ed waffled, maybe a warning, but Karen steamrolled him, scripting her victory rant. Tasha found the flyer Friday, peeling it off her door while Miss Ruby drew devil horns on it with a Sharpie. Menace? Tasha snorted, texting Darnell. You're banned now, big shot. Darnell replied, Guess I'll sneak in at night, ninja mode. She laughed, but the stack of notices, $50, now this, was piling up. She knocked on Darnell's door that evening, a tray of cornbread in hand. She's not quitting, Tasha said, plopping onto his stoop. Darnell cracked a Coke, his grin sharp. She's a yappy chihuahua. Lots of noise, no teeth. Let's give her a show. They clinked drinks, scheming. Darnell'd weed in his old basketball shorts tomorrow. Tasha'd set up a boombox with Uptown Funk. Karen's head would explode. Saturday, the town caught wind. The Garcias dropped by Tasha's with tamales. Old Man Jenkins shuffled over with iced tea. And the Pattersons, shockingly, offered brownies. She's after Darnell, Garcia asked, munching a tamale. Tasha nodded, grinning. Called him an intruder. Cops, flyers, the works. Jenkins cackled, his dentures clicking. That's Darnell Brooks. Fixed my truck in March. She's dumber than a sack of rocks. They hatched a plan. Crash Karen's meeting, bring facts and snacks. Darnell shrugged, sipping his Coke. I'll bring the fertilizer, just in case. Karen's meeting was a fiasco before it began. The town hall was packed. Her posse up front, Mrs. Miller, Ed, a few suck-ups, but the back filled with rebels. Tasha, Darnell, the Garcias, Jenkins, even Miss Ruby with her walker. Karen strutted in, peach blazer blazing, and banged her gavel. "Tasha Jackson's let an intruder terrorize us," she shrieked, waving flyers. "Fines ain't working. I say ban him." Mrs. Miller cheered. Ed nodded, but Tasha stood, arms crossed. "That's Darnell Brooks," she said loud and clear. "Lives here, works at the shop, helps my gran. You're the terror, Karen." The room erupted. Garcias. "Yeah, Darnell." Jenkins. "Sit down, you twit." Karen banged her gavel, screeching, "Lies, he's a thug." Darnell stood, slow and smirking, and waved. "6 months here, ma'am. You're welcome." Laughter rolled. Karen's face went purple, and Miss Ruby yelled, "You're the thug, wine breath." Karen threw a flyer at her. It missed, hit Ed, and stormed out, vowing war. Sunday, she posted, "Council betrayed. Fights on." The comments torched her. "Karen vs. Darnell? Good luck." And Willow Creek split. Her minions versus the town crew. She thought she'd win, thought she'd crush them. She didn't see the hilarity or the karma closing in. Part 3. The week after Karen's disastrous council meeting turned Willow Creek into a pressure cooker ready to blow, and Karen Pritchard was the match lighting the fuse. By Monday morning, she was in full warlord mode, her command center a fortress of council bylaws, violation notices, and a laptop glowing with half-baked rants. The meeting's booze and Tasha's clapback replayed in her head like a bad jingle, and she'd spent the weekend turning her grudge into a full-blown jihad. "They'll pay," she hissed to Muffin, her cat, who'd abandoned the couch for the safety of the laundry basket. "Tasha and that hoodlum are finished." She'd lost the first skirmish, but she'd bury them under her own rules, or so she thought. She kicked off her blitz with a vengeance. Tuesday, she printed a fresh batch of flyers, neon orange this time, blaring, "Danger, intruder at large," with a blurry pic of Darnell, and stuffed them into every mailbox in Willow Creek. She taped one to Tasha's door, another to Darnell's Civic, and even slipped them under the town hall's welcome mat. Then she emailed her council posse, Mrs. Miller, Ed, the rest, demanding an emergency session Wednesday night to deal with the Jackson menace once and for all. "This is about our town's soul," she wrote, attaching her shaky video of Darnell weeding. Mrs. Miller replied, "You're a hero, Karen." Ed just said, "I'll be there," his tone limp. Tasha found the flyer Tuesday afternoon, peeling it off her door while Miss Ruby drew a mustache on it with a marker. "Danger?" Tasha snorted, texting Darnell, "You're a supervillain now. Watch your back." Darnell called back, his voice a mix of glee and grit. "She's digging her own hole. Let's make it a grave." Tasha grinned, glancing at Miss Ruby's peppers, fat and fiery in the sun. "She's dragging you down with me. Sorry, fam." Darnell chuckled. "Girl, I've dodged worse than her in the shop. We'll cook her goose." They agreed to crash the session, rallying the town crew for backup. Karen didn't stop at flyers. Wednesday, she posted on Facebook again, a novella. "Wednesday's council session will decide if Willow Creek stays pure or falls to riffraff like Tasha Jackson and her guest. Be there." The comments erupted. Garcia. "Darnell's a saint, you clown." Jenkins. "He fixed my truck." "Lay off." The Pattersons. "This is nuts." Karen deleted them all, her face a tomato-red mask, and blocked half the town. Then she called the sheriff a third time, claiming ongoing suspicious activity at Tasha's. Deputy Pete showed up, saw Darnell mulching, and waved him off. "Tell her to quit wasting my time," Pete muttered, peeling out. Karen snapped a pic anyway, posting, "Sheriff fails us. Council's last hope." Willow Creek was fracturing fast. The town crew, Tasha, Darnell, the Garcias, Jenkins, Miss Ruby, met at Tasha's Tuesday night, a dozen strong munching tamales in the backyard. Tasha brought her flyers, "Support Darnell," and Darnell brought his chill, leaning on the porch rail with a Coke. "She's got the council in her pocket," Garcia warned, his voice gruff. "But we've got the people." Miss Ruby nodded, her walker thumping. "That witch messed with the wrong family." Tasha smiled, nerves tingling. "Let's make it loud. Darnell smirked. I'll bring the fertilizer, just in case. Wednesday dawned muggy and tense, the air thick with storm clouds. Karen spent the day prepping, ironing her hot pink blazer, printing complaint logs, rehearsing her speech like a dictator before a coup. She strutted into the town hall at 6 p.m., her posse trailing, Mrs. Miller clutching a notepad, Ed shuffling like a whipped dog. The room was small, fluorescent buzz, folding chairs, a wobbly podium, but it was packed by 6:30. Karen's loyalists sat up front. Mrs. Miller, Ed, a few suck-ups, while the town crew filled the back. Tasha, Darnell, the Garcias, Jenkins, Miss Ruby with her walker, even the Pattersons sneaking in late. Word had spread, and neutrals showed up too, popcorn ready for the showdown. Karen took the podium at 7 p.m., gavel in hand, her voice a nasal whip. Thank you all for coming, she began, her smirk tight. We're here because Tasha Jackson's endangered Willow Creek by letting this riffraff, Darnell whatever, run wild. He's a safety hazard, and I've got proof. She waved her notices, the video cued on her phone. Fines ain't worked, so I propose a ban. No outsiders without counsel say so, starting with him. Mrs. Miller clapped. Ed nodded, but the room shifted. Murmurs, snickers, a few coughs that sounded like bullshit. Tasha stood, her Tupac tee bold, her voice steady. Karen, that's Darnell Brooks. Lives on Pine, works at the shop, helps my gran. He's no outsider. You're just a bully. The town crew cheered. Garcia loudest. Damn right. Karen's eyes slit. Rules don't bend for helpers, Tasha. You're reckless. Darnell rose next, slow and deliberate, his grin sharp. Lady, I've been here 6 months, fixed half this town's cars. You're the hazard, screaming at folks minding their own. The room roared. Claps, hoots, a preach from Miss Ruby. Karen banged her gavel, her face flushing. Order! This ain't a popularity contest. He's unvetted, and that's that. Garcia jumped up, red-faced. You're a tyrant, Karen. Darnell's more Willow Creek than you'll ever be. The Pattersons shouted, Leave him alone! Jenkins waved his cane like a sword. Shame on you! Karen slammed the gavel, shrieking, Sit down or I'll have you tossed. But the crowd was hers no more. Half stood, hollering, the other half jeered. Karen played her video. Darnell mulching, her voice yowling, Intruder. But it flopped hard. The room laughed, then roared. Garcia, that's your evidence? A shovel? Jenkins, pathetic. She cut it off, trembling, and pointed at Darnell. You're a liar, a thug pretending to be useful. Darnell didn't blink. Check my lease, ma'am. I've got receipts older than your blazer. Laughter hit like a wave, sharp and merciless. Tasha stepped up again, holding her flyers. This ain't about safety, it's about control. Darnell's helped us all. Gardens, cars, you name it. Karen's the threat, harassing a good man for kicks. She tossed the flyers. Hands snatched them, waving them like banners. Karen lunged for the mic. Lies, I protect this town. You're all ungrateful. Her voice cracked, drowned by boos. The council wavered. Ed whispered to Mrs. Miller. This is a mess. Mrs. Miller hissed, Stay strong. But the tide was turning. A neutral Tom the Barber stood. Darnell fixed my AC last week. You're out of line, Karen. More rose. Mechanics, moms, even Pastor Jim, chanting, Darnell! Darnell! Karen's gavel hit the podium, cracking it, and she screamed, This is my session. Then it happened. Miss Ruby stood, walker creaking, and pointed her cane. You're a disgrace, Pritchard. That boy's family. Yell at him again, and I'll whack you myself, Karen snapped. She shoved past the podium, stormed toward Darnell, and shrieked, Go back to the ghetto, you thug! The room froze, then exploded. Boos thundered, chairs scraped. Tasha lunged forward. Say it again, Karen! And Garcia caught her arm. Not hard, just firm. Darnell stayed cool, arms crossed, smirking. Ghetto? I'm from Knoxville, lady. Nice try. Laughter rolled. Miss Ruby cackled. She's done! Karen swung her gavel at him. It missed, hit the wall, and she spun to the council. Vote now, ban him, Ed stammered. Maybe we... Mrs. Miller cut in. Yes! But the crowd drowned them. Jeers, stomps, a thrown flyer smacking Karen's blazer. She lost it. She shoved Tasha, snatched the mic, and screeched, "You're all trash. I'll sue you. Him, everybody." She swung at Darnell again, her purse flying. He dodged, chill as ice, and it hit Ed square in the chest. Jenkins caught her arm. "Enough, you hag!" And she wrenched free, her blazer ripping, tripping over a chair. She bolted out, heels clacking, her exit a clumsy mess as the room erupted. Cheers, hugs, Miss Ruby waving her cane like a victory flag. Outside, Karen collapsed on the steps, panting, her phone buzzing with notifications. Facebook, texts, voicemails. She didn't check. The session was a massacre. Her posse scattered, the town hers no more. Tasha and Darnell stayed, the crew circling, plotting a victory cookout. Karen's empire was rubble, but the real reckoning was hours away. Wednesday night was her peak, and her plunge. Part 4. Thursday morning broke over Willow Creek like a sigh of relief, the air crisp with the promise of rain, and the town buzzing with a lightness it hadn't felt in years. Karen Pritchard's house was a crypt, blinds shut tight, no porch vigil, no lime green blazer marching down Oak Street. Inside, she was a wreck. She'd staggered home after the town hall fiasco, her ripped blazer flung on the floor, her phone dead from dodging the avalanche of notifications. Muffin, her cat, watched from the windowsill, wary as she slumped in the dark, replaying the booze, Tasha's glare, Darnell's smirk. "Trash," she muttered, her voice raw. But the venom was spent, just a flicker of spite in a sea of defeat. Down the block, Tasha Jackson brewed coffee on her porch, the scent mingling with Miss Ruby's collards simmering on the stove. Darnell Brooks joined her, his fade fresh, a thermos of sweet tea in hand. They didn't crow, didn't need to. The session's chaos still echoed in their ears. Karen's Ghetto shriek a punchline they'd never forget. "She's toast," Tasha said, sipping her mug. Darnell nodded, his grin sly. "Burnt toast, extra crispy." They watched the town square from afar, folks milling, laughing, a quiet wind blooming in the streets. By noon, Willow Creek was alive with gossip. Garcia dropped by Tasha's with donuts, recounting Karen's meltdown with a cackle. "She swung at Darnell, and he just stepped aside like she was a mosquito." Miss Ruby hooted, stirring her pot. "About time that witch got swatted." The Pattersons told Jenkins over the fence. Old man Jenkins wheezed to the Garcias. Karen's reign was the talk of the town. Tasha's Support Darnell flyers littered porches, some pinned up like medals, while Karen's orange screeds rotted in gutters. Karen emerged at 2 p.m., pale and ragged, her usual blazer swapped for a stained sweatshirt. She needed air, needed to salvage something, so she grabbed her phone, finally charged, and shuffled out. But the signs were everywhere. Folks gardening with Darnell's help, a thanks D sign the Garcias hung by the gazebo. Kids trading stories of the yell. It was a silent slap, a town reborn without her. She avoided eyes, her steps shaky, until she saw Tasha and Darnell in the square. Darnell hauling mulch, Tasha passing out tea. She froze, then bolted back, her pulse racing. "They've won," she hissed, slamming her door. The real hammer dropped that afternoon. The council, shaken by the session, met in secret at Ed's hardware store. A hush-hush huddle Karen wasn't invited to. Mrs. Miller, Ed, the rest, they'd seen the tide turn. "She's a train wreck," Ed said, his voice quavery. "Half the town's ready to tar and feather her." Garcia had crashed the meet, uninvited, tamales in tow. "Darnell's gold, Karen's garbage. Do something or we will." The vote was swift, 4-1 Mrs. Miller dissenting to oust Karen from the council. An email blasted out by dusk. Karen Pritchard removed from council, effective immediately. New election pending. Ed texted her, a curt "it's over," and blocked her reply. Karen got the email at 6 p.m., her Chardonnay glass trembling in her hand. She read it, reread it, then hurled the glass at the wall, wine streaking the paint like blood. "Bastards!" she screamed, Muffin darting under the couch. She called Mrs. Miller, who didn't pick up. Then Ed, who'd already cut her off. She was alone, dethroned, her power snuffed out. She sank to the floor, sobbing. not regret, but fury at a town that dared defy her. Friday, the town celebrated. Darnell hosted a cookout in the square. Grills smoking with ribs, tables groaning with collards, cornbread, tamales. Tasha brought her boombox, blasting Sweet Home Alabama, the Garcias their salsa, Jenkins his iced tea. Neighbors poured in, 60, then 80, mechanics high-fiving Darnell, kids chasing fireflies, Miss Ruby dishing out sass and peppers. A local reporter, Jess from the Knoxville Sentinel, showed up, tipped off by Garcia. "Heard you took down a council tyrant," she said, pen out. Tasha grinned. Darnell did the heavy lifting, just stood there being dope. Darnell shrugged. "Mulched some dirt. That's it." Jess's story ran Saturday. Town heroes stand ends council, bullies reign. It hailed Darnell's chill, Tasha's grit, the town's spine, and roasted Karen in a single zinger. Ex-counselor's ghetto rant cost her everything but the Chardonnay. Online, it went viral. Southerners sharing Darnell's tale, locals crowing, comments torching Karen. "Yelled at the wrong dude. Bye, Felicia." A petition to dissolve the council hit 200 signatures by night, the Pattersons leading the charge. Karen saw it Sunday, her phone finally on. The hate mail piling up, texts, emails, a note from Jenkins. "Karma's spicy, huh?" She didn't leave the house, didn't answer when Mrs. Miller knocked with a weak, "We can fix this." "Fix your own damn self," Karen snapped, slamming the door. She poured a Chardonnay, stared at the square through her blinds, Darnell grilling, Tasha dancing, folks laughing, and felt the weight. Her flyers, her rules, her seat, all ash. Monday, Darnell knocked on her door. She peeked through the peephole, saw his lanky frame, and almost didn't open it. But curiosity won. She cracked it, sweatshirt rumpled, no makeup. "What?" she barked. Darnell held out a jar of Miss Ruby's pepper relish. Red, fiery, homemade. "Grew this," he said, no smugness, just fact. "Thought you might like it. We're done scrapping." She stared, her lips twitching, then snatched it, the door clicking shut. Darnell walked off, his stride easy, and didn't look back. By Tuesday, Willow Creek exhaled. The square thrived. Volunteers tripled. Darnell's mulch a legend. Tasha planted a new pepper row. The Garcias built a bench. Jenkins hung a community rules sign. Karen stayed in. The relish on her counter next to her complaint drafts, unfiled, useless. She didn't strut, didn't post, didn't call meetings. Wednesday, she poured a Chardonnay, sat alone, and watched the town crew from her window. No rant, just silence. Weeks later, at a 4th of July bash, Willow Creek gathered. Flags waving, Darnell on the grill, Tasha passing tea. Karen didn't show, but her blinds twitched, catching the music, the unity. She sipped her wine, the relish still unopened, and let the quiet settle. Her reign was dust, her lesson bitter, and the town bloomed without her. A victory of karma, served with a side of laughs.